see those chairs there?
Yes,
You
I
got
do.
those chairs in your house?
No, I don't.
Uh-huh. Have you ever seen those chairs before?
Not these chairs. I haven't.
Uh-huh. Have you sat in those chairs before?
Not until today.
Uh-huh. What's different about those chairs and these chairs around here?
Those chairs are better for my height than these chairs are.
Oh, okay. Those are cheap chairs.
Okay. Yeah, I was informed.
So, okay, well, I'm informing you so that everybody knows that when you see chairs like that, you know you don't drop your butt on these. You don't do that. You find something, and what happens also, if we had an Ochime in here, I need to talk in this.
Yes.
If we had an Ochime in here on a Bravo, let me start with Ochime. You wouldn't have gotten that close. If we had an Bravo, he would have snatched you out of that chair. And a Bravo is an executioner, is a protector of the royal. And they don't play at all. So if you cross something unbeknowingly, you'll know. Okay? And Ochime is a little kinder. It might come and say, get your behind out of that chair. Don't you know that that's a cheap chair? You would get reprimanded on it. Okay. So everybody heard, you saw it, and I'm glad you did it. So we could see this and talk about it. The chairs next to where Madame is sitting, we will assume that she's a queen mother, because she's sitting in the queen mother's seat. Madame. So she can sit there. One over probably. One over. Uh-huh. If the chief is sitting in this chair, the big one, he might have an assistant or someone who is visiting sitting in the other chair. We experienced that at Craig when the people from the north came and Rabbi gave up his seat to let the chief from Rodomazo to come and sit there, and he sat in a lower seat. So you might see that when you go, we're in a private palace now. So let's just take that. We're in a private space now, in the palace, and it's private. So so the Queen Mother moved over. Next to the chief, on the right of the chief will be an Ochime, the lead Ochime. So, since you want to get so close, go on up there and sit in that chair. The small chair, the small chair.
This chair.
Yes, small chair. Not a stool, not a stool. Uh-huh. Next to the royal, the chief, since that stool is there, he's wanting an Akamfo to sit next to him. The head Akamfo, the Akamfo Panin, the spiritual leader of the town, to sit next to him. If it was reversed, the chair would be next to him, and the Ochime, the lead Ochime that he wanted, that is like a secretary to him, would be sitting in that chair. Okay? On his left side would be the executioner, the Bravo, would be over there. Now, when you go to different regions, it's different in some regions. They call them different things. And it may be lined up differently. But that Queen Mother's in her seat, and she's not moving. So if anybody comes, they have to go to the next chair, the next chair, the next chair. Now we're all seated. Any questions about seating and what you say? Yes.
I have a question. When you enter the room, if there's more than one chief, do you kowtow to each chief, or just one is enough for all?
No. If there's more than one chief, there is a lead chief. There's a high chief there. What do we call it? Paramount chief.
Right.
There's a paramount chief. You definitely kowtow to the paramount chief. The other chiefs, you give them a slight something. Okay? And then you'll have some chiefs there. You know, it's a shoulder. Men, if you get cute and wear your in Thomas and whatnot, you got to take the cloth down off your shoulder. And I know it's hard to get it up there and hold it, but you certainly got to take it down. A woman doesn't have to do that. Eyeglasses come off, and some people can't see without them, so you just hold on to the person in front of you to get the lead. But eyeglasses are off. When you get to the paramount chief, your shoes come off. We, the royals, I have to do this. I have to take off a shoe, my right shoe, for paramount chief. The one down, I just pull my foot out a little bit. So, any question on that? Yes.
What is the significance of that?
All of it is honor.
Okay.
Remember, I talked about all honor. You know, you have to honor every position, and that is the highest position in the town, in the town, like Osabarima in Cape Coast, or Mataconjua in Elmina. You don't just go straight up, hey buddy. Oh no, he does have a brothel. No telling what might happen, because he's like a little brothel himself. No telling if you do something like that. Off the record. That's off. Oh, erase that. Erase that, please. So, do you get what I'm saying? And it's more detailed than I'm saying, okay? But this is a process of remembering. Just remember, process of remembering. I can't say everything right now, because that's, just talking about this is a workshop in itself. Yes,
Yes,
talk loud so I can hear you now.
Yes, please. There's something about shaking of the hands, and you hold your left hand, you hold your right hand with your left, or something like that.
Yes.
Are these just greetings when you bow, or is shaking of the hand part of it? And how is that done?
If you're greeting royals, you wait for them to extend their hand to you. You don't go up and grab, hey, buddy. You don't do that. Hey, you don't grab their hand. See, I told you I don't use these things. If you're gonna greet, you go up, did you see my hand? And Koto, you don't stick your hand out. If the royal puts his hand out, then you can read it on top. See, it's a whole new. If you're left-handed, that's what you're talking about, and you want to give someone something, and you mistakenly use or you cannot, you got something in your right hand, and you have to use your left hand to give it to them. You put your right hand over it. I guess I need a little table here. I'll show. Because in my left hand is something, or maybe I'm eating I wouldn't be eating with my left hand, but something is in there, and I'm holding it, and I have to give you something. So it's like this. Without your, I beg, I'm sorry. I'm using this hand but I'm covering it. Or sometimes you sleep with your door, you know, you gotta cover it with your right hand. Got that? Now, I lost my place. Help me. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Do these protocols apply only to royals, or what about people in your life, your family, or people of authority in your life who may not be part of the traditional system?
Everybody. You have respect. You have to respect everybody in their place in life. Everybody. So we say the authoritative person, the person that's the policeman, and you know you don't want to, but MPs, the whatever, those up there. Authority, the royals are first, absolutely royal. And then, okay, if we're here and a policeman, the MPs are standing there and DCMEs are there, you know, you respect it. Everybody in their place, even children, even children, you have to respect them, especially a royal child. And there's language that you use for that, and I'm gonna try to get to that. For each child, for each person, each position, there's a language. You're not only Koto, Nana. Chiefs, queen mothers, omanins, are nanas. Never by their first name. Sometimes you can say Nana, Nana, Nana Kanjwa, or you can say Nano Henning or Nano Hema, but it's always not a queen mother. It's not an Ohima. If you're going to use that title, you use the you use the a Khan title, which is Ohima for queen mother. If you go outside of that and you say not a queen mother, then you got it all mixed up. And it's you see, you're trying, but you got it mixed up. So not Ohima, not Ohene. Okay. As I said, just on this topic, just on this topic is a whole workshop because there's so many aspects of it. We got the language, we got the koto, we got the levels of the statuses. There's plenty to it. And then you've got as you asked about the family and all, you've got something, everybody gets respect. Even in your family, you have a head of your family. You have the head of your family. And then within that, there's the head of the family, and then you might have someone who has been designated the queen mother. But that is within your family. That's not outside. And when there's a when there's a council meeting in the village, the head of the family is represented there. Can invite the queen mother. Can. But the head of the family has the say on gets the vote. Gets the vote. Correct? Got it? Yes.
Early on in the presentation, you talked about there is another Nana here. And so in terms of addressing that Nana, you remember, you said there's another Nana here.
If there's more than one.
No. Early on in your presentation, you were talking about, you were talking about the Nanas. Any other Nana known here? And before that, you said there is another Nana here, but the time is not right. Okay. So
I don't remember saying it. I did?
Yeah.
I said it.
So what I wanted to know is,
Did it refer, you were referring to,
I was referring to,
I know you were. So
yes,
that's my question.
but it's,
So my question is, he's the rabbi, he's Kohen, so how do we address him with those other titles that we know?
you don't until he decides that he's coming out like that.
I understand that.
So you don't.
No,
He is
no.
rabbi
I got that, but I'm saying when he does
when he
come
does.
out, he will tell us which one to use.
I'm telling you now, when he comes out with Nana, that's how you address him, Nana.
Okay.
Same protocol for Nana Tulake, but it's the same protocol. What she's explaining for Nana Noon would apply to myself as well on that.
So you will tell us whether we should say Nana Kohen or Nana.
hello, Nana is coming. Everybody must be on. You can sit down now.
Yes. What you witnessed just now was just a role play. You may be in a palace and the chair is empty, no one is sitting there, and you're there waiting. We're there waiting just now. And Nana may 15, 20 minutes later decide to come in, even though our appointment was at 1, he comes at 2. But you know about timing God right now. You know about the timing. The timing is the time, is the appropriate time that when the person arrives, that is the appropriate time. So the Nana will come. You saw the Ochime, before you could go in anybody's house, room, door, you have to knock. And I answered him. I said, Amen. And he came and announced who was coming. And that is the process that we have to go, the process of remembering that. Because sooner or later, we're going to either be with Nana Durkwa, or it'll be Nana Kra, or we'll be Nana Numa, and or even with him as a person and authority. He's the executive director of Panifest. And there are times when we're going to be going with him to a place. That might happen. Someone has to be the Ochime, and we don't have one. And I guess maybe I'm talking ahead of myself, but this is the process of remembering, and we are community, and we are family. All right. We need an Ochime for times like that. He announced who was coming, hesitated for us to get on our feet when he walked in that door. When Nana walked in that door, we were supposed to be up and wait until he sits down, and Ochime allowed us to sit down. Or sometimes the chief will sit. And then you sit down, but not until. Any questions on that part? Remember, I said that when the chief comes in, now it's on the chief and the Ochime how this is going to work. The Ochime, the chief they're communicating all the time. This Ochime is in the wrong seat, but he's in the right seat. But anyway, he's the one that's going to speak to for the chief, because way back, things have changed now. But way back, chief wouldn't talk at all. And even now, if it's an issue that's on the floor, he won't speak anyway. He will not speak. He'll let the Old-Timey talk. And when I asked about that, when I was, researching this, I said, why? It would be easier for the chief to talk. I said, no. Let the Old-Timey, as we know here, linguists, the Old-Timey talk and explain everything with a flourish. They love to talk. You get somebody to talk. I know somebody who could be an Old-Timey. Anyway, they love to talk. They can flourish it. And then the other side of it, if the Old-Timey says the wrong thing and somebody goes out and says, but the chief said blah, blah, blah. No. Everybody said, no, the chief did not say that. That was the Old-Timey when he was doing all of his flourishing talk. So you can't call the chief a liar. Even though the Old-Timey is supposed to be speaking for the chief. Got it? Now, then the Old-Timey gets off to the side and y'all give it to him. Is it? I have been corrected by my chief. The Old-Timey is sitting on the correct side. True. Okay. He's sitting on the right side. And I have been told, and I do know this, I guess I'm in the process, CRS, anyway, that when you greet the chief, when you end up greeting, if we were to get up and greet the chief, we'd be going on our right. And the first person that we have to greet is the Old-Timey. Sometimes the Old-Timey is sitting in front of the chief. And you can't even, you just bypass. You do your koto and keep going. That means the chief doesn't want to talk to you. Not friendly, he's not talking that day. He's not reading that day. Maybe a lot's going on. Maybe there's a big case somewhere. And he's just holding on to spiritually, he's holding on. Silently, he's holding on. Like Namakrati.
So, if we were all to be reading the king, it would follow.
Your right shoulder, that's how you go.
Okay. So
Always
everyone from this side would follow?
Yes, everybody would follow.
Okay.
Now, our Old-Timey will ask permission, can we greet? Can we greet the, you go up, Old-Timey to Old-Timey. Old-Timey will off.
Old-Timey, Queen Mother's request, that I have permission to, we have permission to greet Nana.
Let me sing Gandhi.
Okay, everybody stand up. We're gonna, everybody. And follow him. Follow Charlie. Follow your Charlie. Follow your Charlie. Whatever he does, you do.
So you dip one shoulder for them.
Queen Mother, sit down. Now, sometimes you will find something in the middle of the floor, and sometimes it's a barrier, but this chief is telling you to come anyway. Okay. And he's extending his hand to shake. Uh-huh. Are y'all greeting the Queen Mother over there, at least nodding to her or something?
She moved out of the way.
So we've gotten through this. Does everybody understand the greeting? Any questions on that? Did anybody have on their eyeglasses when they treated? Huh? And they were trying me as on eyeglasses.
So even though Johnny has to have his glasses off as well?
Yes, you have, yes, a chime, you are not with the chief with glasses on. So when you go up there, they put them back on when you pass by. Did anybody think about their shoe? You're not wearing sandals. Those who have on sandals. Small. Small. And they show that you're trying.
But what if you're barefoot?
If you want to go barefoot, you can.
No, that's how it's, yeah,
Oh, okay, he moved us to Ashanti. I'm still trying to say what happens in Fanti. You go before Paramount Chief barefooted in the Ashanti region.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear.
In the Ashanti region, if you go before a Paramount Chief, you are barefooted. Leave your shoes over there. And it's very strict. There are, okay, let me talk about regions a little bit. There are some regions that are very strict in protocol. Ashanti region is one. Aquapem is second. Then you get, Fanti's kind of,
Relax.
Fanti is a little more relaxed. It's a little more relaxed because they've interacted so much with other people from the outside. So they are a little more relaxed in all of the protocols. But I'm trying to say as it really should be. As someone said to me, anything happens now, but don't take that for real. Because just on that day that you figure anything that can go, that's the time you're gonna get it. And big fines, you get fined for breaking protocol. For taboos, you get fines, yes.
My fine was to cross my legs. I crossed my legs when the chief was present. My first visit to Ghana.
You did that,
I crossed my legs.
and what happened?
I was fined. Because I crossed my legs in the presence of the chief. I had no idea.
Okay, that's something that I haven't said. Thank you for that. You don't cross that leg, male or female. Male or female, you don't cross that leg. She said she got fined. And you will get fined. Money, or you could get fined uh, an offering of some kind, drinks, you can get fined.
Hello,
Call your child.
Atami. Nana wants to push across an information, so everybody must listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, think of, I wanted to give a real life experience with what you just said. In the central region in Domina, the annual festival is Wakatue. First week of June or the July? July. Well, the week before the festival, there's a week-long spiritual offerings, rituals, and practices that take place at the lagoon before the festival begins itself. So the spiritual work goes on all night. So Nana took me, I think it was 2015, to some of the evenings. And during the course of the evening, it was late, 2, 3 in the morning, all the chiefs were seated. I was one of them. I fell asleep, like some of you have done in this room today. I fell asleep, and in my sleep, I somehow did this. And the chief sitting next to me started nudging me to wake me up. And when he woke me up, he looked down at my feet. My feet were crossed. So even in your sleep, you cannot cross your legs. So that's my experience.
Thank you. Darcy.
Now, is this,
You're closing yourself up, you know, that sign language.
so that's a,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just asking, I mean, I kind of heard that, but I just wanted to just bring it up because,
Anything to cross things, to block the spirit flow, you don't do. You just don't do. Any other experiences? I know there are more in here. Yes?
I have a real bad habit of doing this. And I remember you telling me that taboo, because it's for, I think, morning, you told me.
yes.
And I even at home, I have a real bad, but that has stuck in my head. So as soon as I do it, I take it down. But it's, you know, because behaviors and you repeat things. But that reminds me every time what you said.
Yes.
Some of these symbols, because in Africa we have some of the most ancient symbols and gestures in the world, that is also a sign of distress. And the Masonic Lodge, along with the Eastern Stars as well. So it crosses cultures. And if any of you will remember on this other experience of taboos, when Brother Kofi Tab was doing his outdooring or initiating his site, his restaurant, or his site, the drums were confiscated because they started placing drums. It was during the time of the spiritual season of Wakatue, where there's no noise making, and there's a command for silence to clean and purify the land. And so they came from the palace with dispatch that somebody was playing drums in violation, and the drums were all confiscated and put in the palace. And not even the ignorance of our community could prevail, because the drummers themselves, some of them from the area, knew better. And they were supposed to have informed upon the request for their drumming that we can't drum during this season. And because they refused to do that, they were punished even more Not only with the fine, but the drums were held extra time, so they couldn't even do other performances. But this is another sign of the culture is actually working. And sometimes because of the lack of the language being heard, there's a whole world happening around us that we're unaware of. And this is an opportunity to become aware and have our eyes open to some of the things going on around us in the real world that we've come to join.
Thank you, Reverend. I'd like to bring up something that's even in our home, that in the morning when we wake up, if we're living with someone, if there are other people in the house, you know, some of us now are renting spaces, you know, rooms, or you're living with your spouse or whatever that person is. In the morning, it's hygiene I'm getting ready to talk about. When you wake up in the morning, before you speak to someone, wash your face and rinse out your mouth. Otherwise, you are disrespecting and cursing the person. Now, if the spouses have an issue, have a thing about it, you don't talk about that. That's their thing. But other than that, before you go out of your room and speak to somebody, you splash your face with some water to get the matter out your eyes and to get the slobber off your face. Nobody wants to see that. And water in your mouth. Because you're letting loose all of the saliva and nighttime stuff that goes on in your mouth, you know, the tar that comes down and all that kind of stuff out before you go greet somebody. That's something we don't like to talk about, but I caught with that. Because when I was in the north, I popped out of that rendezvous. I popped out looking around and I was told, get over there to that water. And I had to wash my face. And then it was explained to me, just like I explained it to you. So you're teaching your children that. You're teaching your children that. Some people don't, you know, but when you think about it, what you're doing, now if it's spouse, y'all do what you want to do. Okay. Sorry.
Would you consider what you just explained to us? That's something that like my whole family do. My aunties, uncles, whatever. You do not come out that room, or you do not come downstairs or whatever without washing your face and brushing your teeth. So
Right.
we talked about how we do things that oftentimes we're getting them from an African tradition. Would you consider that to be?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That is ancestral. That's tradition. You know, it's tradition. And it got passed down to your family somehow. But we don't know that. But now you know it, because this is a process of remembering. Okay? So get your children to start doing it. There were a couple of things that we already talked about. Outside of the house, you always knock. Outside of when you're going to go to somebody's room, you knock. You don't just open the door, surprise. Okay, you knock, Coca-Cola. Whenever I go to the palace, I have to Coca-Cola, and I wait for Nana to say Amen or Ramu or something like that. He'll acknowledge me. And I have every right to walk into the palace, but I won't walk in there without co. Somebody will say, let me come in. So in somebody's room, you knock on that door and wait for them to acknowledge you to come in. You don't know what you're gonna meet when you go in there. Now, we don't have to talk about that. Remember, that's a process. You good? All right, I wrote down some things that, all right, entering a meeting, there's one main thing. When we're in a meeting, go out alone. When you're entering a meeting, if you're alone, coming late, what do? What is it that you do when you're coming in? You knock on the door. If the door is closed, it was just wide open, you knock, you wait for the Ochami. Ochami, where'd you go? The Ochami to open the door, see who it is. Now you tell them what to do. What did you say? Okay. You don't know what to do. Ochami is up to you to show her what to do. This is the important job of an Ochami. If we're in a meeting, hot discussion, maybe she needs to sit on the side somewhere. She cannot greet right now. The Ochami has to be wise, see what's going on, know what's going on in there, and being able to communicate to that person who's coming in. If she's coming alone, if it's a group, you tell the person what they need to do. And that's an Ochami knowing the protocols. Got it? Got it. When you're going in, if you don't know what to do, there should be a greeter or an Ochami standing there in the room, that immediately will come to your rescue. You stand there until somebody comes there, or before you walk across the floor on your own and get fined. Somebody will come. When you're just standing there and looking around, there should be a greeter or an Ochami. 9 times out of 10, the Bravo's gonna stay where they are. But if nobody else is there, we'll come and say, okay, who are you, what you want? And tell you what to do. So don't just assume because you came in, just walked on in the room and just go on around. Like a couple of people did today, several people just came in because we hadn't talked about this. And we weren't formally set up. But from now on, at the, we're Craig, okay? Let me talk about Craig. Yeah, sitting there, we're in a meeting, we're having a conversation, you're late, you come in, stand there, hear the conversation, and then start putting your 2 cents in. No. If we were set up properly, you would be on the chopping board. You would get fined for that and reprimanded or fined. This is formal ancestral stuff. And we know this. As kids, could you walk into the room and your mother or parent talking and you just walk in, blah, 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 but I want some ice cream right now. What would happen? Well, you might have a few teeth missing or something like that, but it's no ice cream. Okay, you're hearing. Small, small, small. Remember, yes.
Anna, I noticed also a lot of us foreigners, we always sit in the first in available seat. I think the best thing to do, most Indians sit in the back, and then if they're supposed to sit in the front, they're called from the back and face in the front. But a lot of us sit in the first available seat and have to be asked to go to change our seats,
Again, knowing your position,
knowing your position.
knowing your position. You knowing where you are, senior.
Yeah. So always sit in the back, and if it's your seat to be sitting in the front, you'll be asked to come to the front or call to the front. But a lot of us see the empty seats and we just sit there and have to be asked to, which is very embarrassing, to move to the back.
You're a Bible person with that one right
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
Always
about a
sit
Bible
that you're in
verse.
the back and all, and
Yes.
asked
Yes.
to sit in the front.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody heard that, right? And that is what we need to do. That is appropriate. That's appropriate.
Chairman, please, I want to speak.
This is not my presentation, but there's so many little things that are being presented that I feel compelled to try to add a little bit of foundation to tie them together.
Nana's.
Start speaking, for example, stop. You don't have to say. We're going to find him. He needs to be fined.
So there's three things that's been mentioned that they may have been talked about, but a lot of the protocol, a large percentage of the protocol are what has come down to what we call and response. There's a reciprocity in a lot of the protocol. I came in and I greeted you not one by one by one by one, but you were reciprocating to greet me. I greeted you, you greet me. You say this, and rap artists say yo, 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 all this is call and response. So it's come down over all this period of time. That's one. So most of the protocol is very practical, if you think about it. Very practical. The third, maybe a little bit more esoteric, Wade Nobles, because a lot of our people assume or they think that culture is wearing kente cloth. But culture is the totality of everything people believe, they do, and they expect. So the culture has four basic functions. One is to teach you how to interpret reality. That's a cultural function. The second aspect of culture is to teach people how to behave. And all these protocols really come down to telling us how to behave in every circumstance, under every situation, so that there's less confusion. The thing that's not seen is because of the culture and the adherence to the cultural protocols, taboos, rules, and regulations, you don't have the police. The police that you don't see every day, everywhere, is not necessary because the culture is self-policing. So when you wonder, how can they have all these people in this marketplace with no police? Because the culture is the police. So we're fascinated by it, but that's why the people are so well behaved, because everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Generally speaking, everybody does it. And if somebody violates it, everybody puts you on blast. And then your parents are questioned about what is it that you've done that you have failed to properly develop this young person. So I wanted to mention those things because they're all part of what we see every day. So the culture following these procedures is very, very critical to the maintenance of order. So in the U.S., we just do whatever we want whenever we think it's okay. That's part of the problem we have. We are out of order.
Thank you, Donna. When you talk about marketplace and Debalcho, when you talk about marketplace and you don't see any people, any police there and whatnot, because I think most Ghanaians know if you steal, you pray for the police to come before the rest of the people grab you and kill you for stealing. So, anyway, there's something I want to talk about because I know that we have proprietors in here for various restaurants, hotels, whatnot, serving people. Because we're talking about seating and whatnot, and the things that royals do. Royals don't eat or drink in public, typically. We have to have a little corner somewhere, and we do come in hungry, and we do come in thirsty. There has to be a setup. Think about when you're opening a spot, when you're opening a place, how you're going to handle that when the royals come in and patronize your place, because they will come. So, and even in your home, you know, if you're having a party and, you know, a lot of things going on, but there has to be a space set that you say, okay, you all could go over there. You know, there's a room over there, or there's a corner over there, and that is the designated space for the royals who come. Not that they have to look around and try to figure out where to go or how to go there, but your greeter or whoever is hosting will know that's the place. Usually, a royal will let you know that they're coming, but sometimes just in passing, they might stop by. So as you're setting up spaces, set up that kind of space. Just think about that uh, as you're doing it, because the worst thing to do is come in and you're hungry and you can't eat. And some of us will just go on and eat. But that's improper. Any questions on that?
So, does that apply when the royal just has on regular clothing, or does that only apply when
With if we're dressed, definitely we won't even stay. We're gone. You don't have a place for us to sit. You know that I'm a royal. You know, you now know that I'm not supposed to eat or drink in front of everybody. I'm supposed to have a little place. So now I'm putting it out there because, you know, and I don't want anybody to get PO'd with me about it. I'm just putting it out there with family, and we're talking about the process of remembering. Okay? So no, you have a spot. When people come in, there's a spot over here that we could go to and sit. Or there's always, I don't know how you say it, there's a special place. There's a special place for us to sit. And somebody plopped their butt there sometimes, like last time, and try to take your space because they don't know. They figure that they're higher than you, the royal, and they'll just go on and plop there and ignore protocol. Don't know it. Don't know it. So all of us here know. We now know. And they'll just go on and plop there. Yes.
Since we, thank you, Nana. Since we are on that and we are family here, I want to say something on that particular topic. Because of who we are, there are some Nana who have another level of consciousness of their responsibility of trying to make us feel comfortable and feel at home. And therefore, they will put themselves outside or put themselves outside of normal protocol to sit with us comfortably, socially, to make us feel like we're home, and not to make it feel like they're so arrogant and above that they exercise all of their royal protocol. But we should never ever take for granted their hospitality with familiarity, because it still says familiarity breeds contempt. There was an experience that I had, because sometimes, at the table, we have various Nananim that may visit, but they purposely want to make our community feel comfortable, that you're welcome home. They're not being loose or anything, but they don't do that anywhere. But because they feel that some of our places are gathering places and we're there, they will relax certain protocols so we feel comfortable. So I remember one of our prominent nanas that came and made a comment that, oh, my brother, I haven't seen you, not talking to me, but one of our brethren around the table, I haven't seen you in a long time. I haven't heard from you. Hope you're well. So, oh, well, Nana, you have fingers too. You have hands. You could have called me as well. And they didn't know anything of what they had done. And it was like, I shattered because there I consider Nana my guest, and he thinks that at least on a modicum basis, I will have schooled people, at least on basic protocol, that at least that's not nice, no matter what the familiarity. So we should never forget, no matter how common it may be, we shouldn't forget their role of extending themselves to say that I'm making you feel comfortable, you feel at home, you feel fine, want y'all to feel welcome. You travel thousands of miles to be away from your home, and we too want you to feel welcome. Not everybody, so those who do, they should not be compromised because of their stretching to their hospitality, to make us feel welcome, that we just say they're one of the guys or one of the girls. We should always keep that in mind. Otherwise, we'll be reminded in a harsher way. So I just want to make that point.
Yes. You had something to say earlier, and I missed it. Rabbi, thank you for that, because we're around a lot of, many of the Nananim who take us, who love us, and because and another thing is because they know we don't know, they're tolerating a lot of things. But don't walk up and say, hey, Nana. Yeah, no, my man. Oh, really? No. You give them the respect. Give them the respect, and they appreciate that too.
Just like, and I know that one of my brothers will laugh because we corrected, when some of that happens, when we're in the presence and we're engaged, have been engaged with their presence, and they decide to share valuable information, we have to be mindful of how we dismiss ourselves too. Some of their presence is a gift, and they'll spend sometime engaging us to share with us certain protocols. But you don't leave the presence, not even each other, but especially if a Nana's present. And I say it again, not even each other, but especially if we have someone that's a dignitary in our midst or a Nananim in our midst. Just get up and say, oh, that's what I'm running away. I got to get ready to go. Good seeing you, Nana. I'm gone. The protocol is you have to ask permission to be dismissed. And that is a respectful manner. And I have not seen any incident outside of them jesting with you when they say, no, you can't go. But it's the protocol on the way that you follow the protocol. And it again starts off with the respect. That's all. You're really acknowledging that I've been in the presence of somebody of substance and somebody who is respected. And if I'm leaving that presence before they do, then let me show the respect that ordinarily I should be here to take the full benefit of what your presence has to offer us. And since I'm cutting that short, I want to ask permission that I can go. But I know you're still giving out more, but I have to go. I can't receive it all.
Humility. Job is on it now.
That's the humility that is inherent in that product presentation. Response is always, who do you think you're talking to? Who do you think you're talking to? You're getting a little beside yourself. I'm your father. You think you're gonna talk to me like that? So a lot of what we say and we do would warrant that kind of response from chiefs and queen mothers. They should say, who do you think you're talking to?
And that does happen. Yes, Sarah.
I just want to ask a question. When Nana is speaking, the Potomac stands up and when Nana is speaking, the Tommy stands up. And I noticed that this Tommy is on his phone. Is that something? I mean, is it okay?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
This is an administration.
But you have to
We're not going hard right now. Not hard right now, because this is a process. And this is the first time that I've spoken on a Khan protocol, and it's my first time, and I don't know who else has come to do that. But this is just the beginning. And first of all, when you leave here, you're going to think about various things that were said. And you're going to do some soul searching as well. Soul searching, ancestral searching. Why am I here? Really? Do I really want to be a part of the family, of the Akan family where I'm living? And am I willing to sacrifice some time to study what I need to know and to ask questions of people who I know? Because I'm here all the time. They ask me when I'm coming back, I said I'm not coming back. So I'm opening myself this time. If you have some questions, periodically, if my phone is on, if I'm around, you can ask me those questions and I will answer you the best that I can. I have been told that it's 4 something, 5 something, even though it's time for us to close. It's time for us to close. Nana is still sitting, so I imagine that he is going to be here after we leave. True?
I think we have spoken at length. Nana has given us, well, Nana wants to give the final closing remarks, then we get up.
I want to thank everyone for coming. I wanted to just mention a gesture that you probably seen many times, but you didn't pay much attention to it or didn't know what you were watching. In the presence of Nana know at a program or something, you'll see someone in Intama that may come up to speak, and they will do this. Take the shoulder down to show that they're speaking to someone that is of senior authority than them. So you've seen this, or maybe you haven't, but if you do, you know it's a gesture that demonstrates that you are senior to me. And so I'm speaking as a subordinate in terms of position, even if I'm not necessarily affiliated with your village. But it's a show of respect and an understanding that your position is of a higher authority than the one I hold. So I just wanted to mention that. Piece that wasn't mentioned already.
Thank you.
Then your chairman too should be in the cloth as Nana speaks. He cloth go up down small before he speaks. That is I want to add. On that note, Nana wants to get up and get to his corner. So Nana is getting up. So we encourage everybody to also get up.
Okay. Now, we've had, brief, basic, there's much more that I haven't gone to, but we said 2 to 4, and we're gonna respect that time, and we'll figure out what to do next. The Council of Elders will figure out the next thing to happen. Hopefully, I have given you some information, a reason to start to process the remembering of the traditions of our ancestors. Those things that you know inherently that you have already done, didn't know you were doing it, but now to refine it and move up a notch. For those positions that I mentioned, that's something for us to think about so that we can get in line the way we need to be. We haven't talked about processional, we haven't talked about the lineups and all that, but that's a whole nother conversation. If you'd like to give me some information about what you might want to hear in the future, information about protocols that you'd like to hear in the future, you can send, WhatsApp me, let me know what you need. One thing I didn't talk about, I want to talk about briefly, real briefly, is we were in the process of developing an Obrafo. He's right there. He didn't know that he was being developed as an Obrafo. But do you remember that nobody knew could walk into a Craig meeting? Do you remember that? Nobody could come just walk into a Craig meeting without Kojo stopping them, finding out who they were, and then announcing them, telling me who they were, and then announcing them. That was the beginning of the Obrafo stuff and the Ochani thing. I just want to remind you all of that. And perhaps we'll be getting back to it. You may feel, we talked about positions, and you might feel that you, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could learn how to do whatever it is that you heard me say. I know I was all over the place and I threw out things here and there, but there are things that maybe you can offer or want to offer. Maybe that's your lineage. You know, we all came from something. You know, mine is, Asafahima. Asafo, warrior. Okay? You don't know. Think about it. This is the process of remembering the traditions of our ancestors. Thank you for your time, interest, and all the questions that came. Thank you.